Everyone, it's Cajun DIY Diva, and today we're doing a painting video. I haven't done one in a long while. So today's video is, this painting is going to be something that's very nostalgic to New Orleans. And I have a picture of it on my phone. It's it's like a poster that they used to have for the old Pontchartrain Beach amusement park in New Orleans, which was right on Lake Pontchartrain. I went there as a kid, and my husband and his family used to go there all the time, and it was, quite a fun place. So I've got my palette here. I'm using student acrylics. We've got brilliant blue, we've got titanium white, chrome yellow, Mars black, and let's see, this is brilliant red. So the colors don't have to be exact for this, but that's a good starting point. I also like to use, I think this is brilliant blue. I also like to use phthalo blue. Makes a great sky color. So what I'm going to do first is the background. So I'm going to pull over some blue and pick up a bunch of white. I'm not going to totally blend it on the palette because I actually like to blend on the canvas. I'm using just a little thin canvas board today. I'm actually teaching a class tonight with this image, so should be fun. Been a lot of interest ever since I put up this image. And I'm just going to kind of go around. I'm not going to worry about it being too perfect around these edges, but I just want to be able to paint around it. And the only thing I've pre-drawn is the clown's face. Now this was like a fun house entrance kind of thing where the mouth was actually bigger, and I think that's what you walked through to enter. It's been a long time, I don't really remember, but I think this was more of a just like an advertising type image that they used on a poster. So as I paint the blue, I'm just covering right now to give it a base color, but I'm also going to add in a little white here and there, just kind of looks like clouds a little bit, and I might go a little bit darker on the blue towards the bottom, because I just think that gives it some depth. So we're going to paint a little roller coaster in, and that roller coaster, the famous one at Pontchartrain Beach, was the Zephyr. They actually named their local baseball team was called the Zephyrs, and they recently changed the name, and nobody likes the new name because they all love the Zephyrs. Just a little bit of really nostalgic New Orleans. I'm not going to tell you what the new name is because I don't like it either. This painting's all about Pontchartrain Beach. And you can paint along with me if you pause and stop the video. Don't expect to paint as fast as I do. I paint pretty fast. And this is something a beginner painter could do. but I paint quite fast, so you would want to slow it down, maybe watch the video, pause it, do some painting like during this part, and then start watching the video again to help you along. And I will take breaks during this painting process at certain points to let the paint dry. So it's okay to come over the edges a little bit, just so it doesn't have that look of you stopped right there. So I do like to go over the edges a little bit. And any paint, if the paint is showing through a little bit, when you go back to paint over it, you can just paint a little white in that spot and it should cover it. Okay, so I'm going to rinse my brush now, and that's pretty much it for the blue. So I'm going to try to paint things that aren't touching the blue too much. I'm going to put a little white in here just as a base and go kind of around. I know I'm covering up some of my pencil marks, but I should be able to see enough of them. And it's quite alright for some other colors to get blended into the white. In fact, I do that on purpose, but I probably wouldn't do it at this stage. I'm not going to paint this part in white right now because that would be a little too much blue, which would get on my paintbrush and mix with it, with all the colors, and I just don't want that yet. So he has some big teeth that I'm going to paint right now. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do for the white right now. Now I'm going to start with some red. So he's got these big red cheeks that make kind of like, it looks like a big comma, sort of. Kind of funny and comical. The red is coming out a little bit translucent, so I'll probably just go back over it. This is acrylic paint, and it's a student acrylic. I'll show you what I'm using. It's this. There's lots of different brands that you can use. But this is an inexpensive paint, so if you're just getting started, you can start out with some inexpensive paint. That actually is from a little pack of 6 colors, and you can do many images with just those 6 colors. Now I'm going to paint, he has these funny, almost girlish lips. And a little bit of the white blended just now, but in the words of Bob Ross, it's a happy accident. It's actually looks pretty good that way. Now on the inside of the mouth, I'm going to paint black, and I didn't clean my brush because it's okay if a little red is touching this black. So He's just kind of got that cavernous black mouth. Now I am going to clean my brush, and I'm going to paint his hat. And there is some blue that might blend, but it's okay. And that was my alarm going off. As I forgot to turn off the sound of my phone, so I'll have to do that. So you can see right now, you can see that blue coming through right there. I don't mind it that much. We are going to give these colors a little bit more, like another coat, because it's not a bright enough red for me yet. Something else you can do to make your red pop more is to add just a tiny bit of yellow, where it gives it sort of that little orange pop and makes it brighter. And I do like to do that. Okay, so I'm going to let this paint dry right now, and then we'll come back. Okay, I've waited about 15 minutes for some of the paint to dry. Not all of it's dry. I can see some of this white is still wet, because I laid it on pretty thick, but that's okay. So now I'm going to paint some yellow into the collar, and before I do that, I'm going to paint a little white over here. I got a little white with yellow to cover up some of the blue that came over. And while I'm doing it, I might as well fix some of the other areas where the blue came over. Now this is a whimsical style of painting, so nothing has to be super perfect. And I always tell my classes, if you want it perfect, do a photograph. Although this, as they say in New Orleans, ain't there no more. So you can't take a photograph, but there are plenty of them online. But I just want to fix that. Okay, so now I'm going to dip my brush into my yellow and pick up a lot of yellow. And I'm just going to come over. I don't want it to go on too thick right now though. So, because I'm going to add a red outline to this. And that's what it looked like in the original. It had a kind of a red outline. So I want to keep that. But I don't care so much if the red and the yellow blend a little bit. I think it'll actually kind of look pretty good. Well, yellow is a color that is quite translucent unless you mix it with white. So if you want it, if you're trying to paint over like this little bit right here, I could add some more white to it, but I think I'm just going to leave it. And I did just paint white right there. You can see that white. I'm just going to let that stay there because I think it's okay. I'm going to wait a little bit before I paint the red outline, and I'm going to switch to something else. So I'm going to let that dry. And while I'm letting that dry, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, and I'm going to paint with my paintbrush. mean I'm going to draw with my paintbrush. So what I want to do is a big loop coming from way up here in the red, because this was a red and white roller coaster. It was an old wooden roller coaster. One of those really old-fashioned Coney Island looking roller coasters. I'm going to start out with this red, and since it's going over blue, it's coming out really deep red. And I know it looks kind of crazy right there, but it'll look good once it's done. And now I'm going to do some of the legs of the roller coaster, and I'm going to start out with them being black, even though it's a white roller coaster, because it's going to show up better on the painting. So what I'm going to do is just some straight lines down. A good thing to do when you're outlining or anything else is I'm dipping my brush into my water cup, and then I'm adding drops of water into my black paint. I'm pulling a little bit over like this, just kind of letting those water drops. It helps the paint go on much more smoothly. So I'm just going to do some lines down. I'm going to do them all about the same. They're all going to stop at about the same point. They don't have to, like this could be more in the distance, so maybe it doesn't have to come all the way down. And then I'm going to do some like this. Now this isn't going to be perfect. Like I said before, if you wanted perfect, you would take a photograph. But this will remind you of a roller coaster when it's done. So I want to do some crosses, and what I'm going to do is just some diagonal lines across. And then some coming this way. On these, I'm going to do some little X's coming like this. And I think that's good. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit. And now I'm going to do some work over here on the face. So he's got black eyebrows. I'm going to fill those in. And his face is pretty much outlined in black also. So we're going to give it some outlines. I actually could use a more of a fine tip brush than what I'm using here. My brushes are all packed away, ready to go to a class. So this was just an extra one that I had laying around. Well, you'll see, it's still going to work. You just have to go really lightly. I'm barely touching the canvas with my brush. And now he's coming to life. Also, while I'm doing this, I am going to put a big smudge right here of red. So it'll kind of look like the tongue, but I'm almost finished with the black. I'm going to go ahead and give the hat a little outline, even though I'll probably still come back and add more red to the hat. Like I said, your line doesn't have to be so perfect. It can be a little squiggly. I'm barely touching the canvas, and I need more water in my black paint to thin it out some more. So I'm going to do that, and now you have to keep reloading your brush. And you know, I could have left this part out if I felt like it. I could leave the face just as it is right now if I wanted to. But I'm going to go ahead and give him that cartoony look with a little outline. Just kind of barely go around his face like this. And some of my lines end up coming out heavier. That's okay. I'm also going to give him a little bit of an outline around that crazy nose. Now that came out a little too heavy, but I will come back with the red and go over that. So now I'm going to do the red outline, which I told you about. I think I'll start down here and just give it a nice red bottom. Kind of finish off the bottom like that. And then I'll try to do a little bit thinner lines as I go around. And that didn't come out so thin. But for this collar, this clown collar, it's okay for it to be a little bit heavier. I'm actually going to take some of this yellow, and I think I'll do that right now. Take some yellow and let it blend a little bit. Grab some more and just do like a big blob right there. I'm just kind of brushing now that my brush is kind of contaminated with yellow and red. I'm just letting the red kind of just spread into everything. And you know, you could fiddle around with this for a long time. I have ladies that come to my painting classes and they're only allowed in the room for 2 hours. They could stay, they'd stay for hours if they could. Now I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to my red and go over this red line again. Like not all the way yellow, but I just want that red to be brighter. And the yellow helps a lot with that. Now I'm going to add my, like I said, a big red smudge right here. It's kind of like his tongue in the back of his mouth. And it'd be fun This clown, some people might think he's a scary clown. I think he's a fun clown. He's funny. And I need probably a little more red before he's done. Also, a little tip, when I use these kind of tubes, take the cap off. Even though it has like a squeeze through top like this, you can control how much comes out way better if you take the cap off to squeeze out paint. And it's like almost impossible to get this paint back in there if you squeeze out too much. So it's a really good tip to just take that cap off. Now I'm giving a little more red paint in the hat. I like that the black smudged in a little bit, or that actually this right here is the blue that's showing in. Once it's drying, it's making it kind of look like age marks, which is really cool, actually. I like that. I'm also going to just brush in a little yellow. I think that makes it kind of fun. Okay, now I'm going to need more white on my palette because I want to do letters and I want to add white to the legs of the roller coaster, and I'm also going to do a little white cart right here. So it's just pretty much just a little rectangle right here. I'll do like a little truck front in the beginning of it. And that's going to be the little roller coaster cars. And now I'm going to take white. I still want that black to show, but I'm going to go over the black with some white. I'll do all the main ones first. Now I'll come do some side parts. And this makes it really look like a roller coaster, like that old wooden roller coaster. You could do it white first and then come back with a black highlight, but I think it's easier to actually do the black first. And this is painting for beginners, so you want to make it easier if you can. And yeah, it looks looking pretty good. So I like it. So I think I'll do the letters. So it's a good idea to either write the words out first, like I'm actually gonna write them, paint them right in front of me, and make sure that I spell it right. before I start writing the words. You could also write this out in chalk. In chalk, I highly recommend that you write it out in chalk before you start painting, because it's just easy to mess it up. So I'm going to write the word beach first, because not as many letters and it's easier. The Pontchartrain word we're going to have to squeeze in. And again, put a few drops of water into your black paint to make it smooth out, come out easier. So now what you want to do, so I have the beach word done first. You want to, this is another reason to write the words out. You want to start in the center. And I have to do these letters really skinny. So I'm going to do the AR first, and then go out from there. And I just want to check again and make sure I'm spelling this right. And now I'll go back the other way. And this is a great tip for any time you have to do letters, because it's so easy to start in one direction, you get to the end and there's not enough room. But if you do it like this, where you space it out and you start in the middle, then you know that you'll have enough room to write the whole word. So I'll come back and I'll put probably a little highlight on these letters in white, but first I'm going to do a little something to the little train. I'm going to try to outline it a little bit. And I'm just going to make like little segments. And for the people riding, I'm going to dip the end of my brush in the black paint and just put little dots for their heads. So there's your people. Okay. I'm going to wipe off the end of my brush. And I want to try to do a little bit of a shadow, or a highlight in this case, with the white. This doesn't have to be perfect. I am not a perfectionist when I paint, and this is whimsical, so little mistakes here and there, they just enhance the painting. It certainly doesn't ruin it. Okay, we're just about done. Okay, and I'm looking around to see if there's anything else that I need to do, and I do see that I think these cheeks need to be a little more red. I'm going to add a little bit more paint into the cheeks. Into that nose. Like that nose is the star of the show, isn't it? And here I remember on this side where the black outline was a little heavy, I'm going to add another good dollop of paint right there so that it really shows up. I can also add a little white highlight here and there. Just to give it a little more whimsy, and I could also put lines for the teeth, but I think I'm going to leave that off because I like it this way. So this is CajunDIYDiva. If you like this type of painting and would like to see more videos, please comment, like this video, and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.